Now, hey, y'all. This is Sean Browning. It's April 15th, 2025. Jackie Robinson Day. But we're gonna talk today about the assassination of James Abram Garfield, the 20th President of the United States of America. Now, President Garfield was a hard-working man, rags to riches story that had a tragic ending. On July 2nd, 1881, only a few months, barely 100 days into his presidency, a man who had been stalking him, Charles Guiteau, for a couple months, or for about a month, he'd been stalking him, and who had been turned down. Charles Guiteau had been turned down by the Garfield administration for obviously for not being qualified for the position that he was seeking, which was an ambassadorship or a minister, whatever, however you want to call it, envoy to France. Now, Guiteau believed he deserved it and that he deserved that appointment because he wrote a speech during the 1880 presidential election on behalf of Garfield. However, there's no telling which speech impacted which results during those days in the elections. Now, on July 2nd, 1881, President Garfield, his Secretary at War, Robert Todd Lincoln, the son of President Abraham Lincoln, and a couple others of his staff, and Secretary of State James G. Blaine from Maine, were at the train station in D.C., Union Potomac, the Baltimore, however you want to call it, railroad station. And Guiteau came up from behind them, shot the president point blank a couple times, and then fled off. This is something about, and then he was later arrested by police that same day, fleeing the Potomac. And at some point, he was able to say, remember, I'm a stalwart, and Arthur will be president, whatever the case is. Now, and the reason I bring that up is Garfield and Arthur were from two different factions of the Republican Party, but they formed a compromised ticket that everybody agreed on after 31 ballots during the convention in 1880. Now, Garfield in 1880 didn't have Secret Service because it wasn't there to protect the president. They were barely there to handle the money or investigate money, the currency stuff that they do now. They still do. And anyways, people carried James Garfield, who was a pretty big man, all the way back to the White House. Now, this is in the summer, so and D.C. was a swamp. It still is a swamp, but it's more of a hot and muggy swamp. Now there were 12 different doctors who all tried to work on President Garfield, trying to locate the body. Back then, sanitation, as we know now, barely existed. It was a newfangled idea, and not a lot of doctors trusted it. So, and the reason I bring that up is that All 12 of those doctors, they kept probing the wound on James Garfield with dirty tools and dirty fingers, which ultimated. Well, they had a hard time finding about. And even Alexander Graham Bell's new invention of an X-ray thing had difficulty trying to find the body, or trying to find the bullet. Excuse me, not the body. Which, because of those springs, and yeah, this is the 1880s. Well, Garfield became infected, and this infection would have messed with his body for 2 months. They even tried to move him to the coast of Jersey, or they actually did ended up moving him to the coast of Jersey, close to the home where his family was, who were on summer vacation at that time, wife and children. Garfield would end up dying on September 22nd or 26th, 1881, from not only the bullet still in his body, but the gangrene infection and all the infections that was culminated from all that the doctors tried to do. And about a year later, Guiteau, who was a lunatic, Charles Guiteau, would be tried and convicted for assassination or for the murder of the president, and would be publicly executed. And yet today we still talk about the Garfield assassination. Not the assassination itself, but the fact and how he was treated by the different doctors. Had they practiced the hygiene sanitation thing that's all over, that's standard practice today, had that been around and been standard practice, who knows, Garfield could have survived that assassination attempt and went on and finished his presidency. However, the real life and the reality is that he died only a few months into his presidency, about half a year, and he was one of the guys that was starting to that was a part of what was called the Civil Reform. And what he was doing was he was getting us away from the spoils system, which was enacted by Andrew Jackson. And he created these tests that anybody that was seeking a office or political appointment in the government had to take these tests based on their merit. And Garfield was a teacher in the civilian world, but he's also a general who fought in the Civil War, Battle of Shiloh, and among other skirmishes along the Cumberland Campaign and Western Front, part of the 42nd Ohio, his home state, his birth state, Ohio. And yeah, we still have this debate. Hey, feel free to leave me a comment. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you guys want more information, you can look it up on Wikipedia, or there are plenty of other biographies that are out there. You can even go on the History Channel, which I recommend. There's different other ones. Alright, y'all, have a nice day. God bless.